Welcome in to This is Baseball. I'm back from vacation. It is the last show of May. I hope everybody had a great Memorial Day. So over the weekend, Justin Verlander passed Greg Maddux to become 10th all-time in career strikeouts. He now sits at 3,377 career strikeouts. And again, that puts him 10th all-time. Number one all-time is Nolan Ryan with 5,714 strikeouts. Max Scherzer is actually 10 strikeouts behind Justin Verlander. And I thought it would be a good time to kind of reflect on Justin Verlander's career because he's very obviously in the twilight of his career. He's 41 years old, but has accomplished a lot in Major League Baseball and is one of the three most dominant pitchers of his era. When I look at the era that Justin Verlander pitched in, I think of Verlander, Scherzer, and Kershaw, and he was, among the best. He's won three Cy Youngs. He was Rookie of the Year. He won an MVP, which is not something that a lot of pitchers do. Clayton Kershaw did that as well. But 9-time All-Star, won 2 World Series, won an ALCS MVP, 2-time ERA title, and he won the pitching Triple Crown Award. So he has been just an absolutely phenomenal pitcher, basically from the get-go in the league. He has 260 career wins, so I don't know if he has enough in him to get to 300 wins. Because as I said, he's 41 years old right now, so he'd probably have to pitch till he was 44 or 45 to get to that. And he would have to pitch at a really high level. Or he could just rattle off a couple of 21 seasons and call it good. But as much as I'd love to see that happen, I don't know if he'll get there, but career WAR of 81.5, 260 wins, 3.24 career ERA, 516 games. He started his entire career, over 3,000 innings, again, 3,300 strikeouts, and a whip of 1.1, which is really, really good. An absolute lock for the Hall of Fame. First ballot, no doubt. And he pitched in Detroit for a long time, so as a Royals fan, I got to see him quite a bit. Him and Max Scherzer both, actually. And they pretty much just destroyed the Royals every time. But again, great accomplishment. Top 10 all-time in strikeouts, and on his way to the Hall of Fame when he decides to retire. Some tough news for the Atlanta Braves. Ronald Acuña Jr. over the weekend tore his left ACL, basically just trying to get back to second base on a throw down from the catcher. He planted and just tore his ACL on the base paths. Now, if you remember, Ronald Acuña Jr. in 2021 tore his ACL. Now, it was his right ACL, so he actually tore the opposite ACL this time. I honestly, when it first happened, I thought, he re-injured his already injured ACL, but nope, completely different leg. Just incredibly unfortunate. Ronald Acuña Jr., obviously reigning MVP of the National League, wasn't quite having that MVP season this year, but obviously a huge impact for the Atlanta Braves team. Now, in 2021, Ronald Acuña Jr. went down with this ACL injury, and Braves did ultimately win that World Series. Now, I'm not saying that they were better without him, but this is a really good Braves team, and what they'll do is they'll probably bring somebody in to trade. Obviously, you'd rather have Ronald Acuña Jr. healthy in the lineup because he literally won MVP. So he's one of the best players in the league, obviously. Like I said, the Braves will be making a trade, likely to kind of fill the hole that Ronald Acuña Jr. has left. Some names that I've seen, this one's from CBS Sports, Jesse Winker with the Washington Nationals, Brian De La Cruz with the Miami Marlins. The Miami Marlins have already made it clear that they're willing to part ways with players. They traded Luis Arias earlier in the season with the Padres, so wouldn't surprise me if they also move somebody else. Brian De La Cruz, the Miami Marlins still have a lot of team control over him, so I don't know. Brent Rooker, Oakland A's, another player. Obviously, the A's, not a very good team, but Brent Rooker, all-star last year, having another really good season this year. Could be somebody that the Braves look for, because right now the Braves are in second place in the East. They're 6 games behind the Major League best Philadelphia Phillies. So to keep pace with the Phillies, Atlanta will definitely need to make a move, and those are just some of the names that have popped up initially. We'll see what ends up happening, if anything ends up happening. But again, huge blow to not only Major League Baseball, but to obviously the Atlanta Braves to lose the reigning MVP in Ronald Acuña Jr. So wish him well in his recovery, and I think we'll see him back next year. Now I want to talk some Royals for just a second here, because right now they are 34-20. They're 14 games over 500. They just finished an 8-game win streak. And unfortunately for the Royals, the AL Central leading Cleveland Guardians are also on a win streak. They just won their 9th straight game. They're 36-17. So while the Royals were incredibly hot, Cleveland is hotter. And basically, all the Royals did was just maintain position. They didn't gain or really lose any ground in this last 10-game stretch with Cleveland. But something that's good, coming up in June, the Royals and Guardians are going to face off with each other for the first time this season. They'll see each other 7 times. So a lot of important matchups, or a lot of important games coming up between those two teams with division play, and really could be what shakes up the division, because after that I don't think they see each other till July, and then they won't see each other again until September. So gotta make those head-to-head matchups count, and they'll get to see each other 7 times next month. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about umpires and that there's a lot wrong with the umpiring in Major League Baseball. Now, last week, Rob Manfred, commissioner of baseball, said that the automated balls and strikes system that we were talking about is likely not going to come into the 2025 season. They haven't quite been happy with what they've seen with it so far. So they said at the earliest we would see it in 2026, and it wouldn't be a full-on replacement of human umpires. It would be that challenge system that we talked about, where you could challenge balls and strikes, and that's when you would go to that ABS system. So not going to be here next year, but possibly next year, and but possibly 2026, and it's going to be the challenge system most likely. That's what seems to be more popular with the players, because in the minor leagues, what they do right now is their series are like 5 or 6 games, and the first 3 games they do the full automated ball strike system, and then the final 3 games of a series they do the challenge system. And I think the players seem to like to have a little bit more control over that, because some things that have been said is the ABS system will sometimes call a strike for what a human would call a ball. Now, obviously, humans are human and can be a little bit inconsistent, so maybe the pitches that were being called balls should have been called strikes based on the strike zone that is given to us. But I think the challenge system might be better, just so the teams and players do have a little bit more control of the game. But again, we won't see that until 2026 at the earliest, and for all we know, they could change it again. They've been slow to implement things before, and I think this time they really want to make sure that they get this right and that it's really ready to go for the highest level. Now, a topic of conversation that's been kind of ongoing for a while is Major League Baseball's media rights. Obviously, the big story with Bally Sports going through bankruptcy and what's going to happen with those teams that use Bally right now. It looks like right now you're just going to continue with your current situation in 2024 if you have Bally. But the conversation came up of nationalizing the media rights, because right now each team just negotiates their own TV deal. And I think with cord cutting and people not really having cable, the regional sports network format doesn't really work anymore because not enough people have cable or really have access to those networks. So what is being talked about is some owners, baseball owners around the league, are discussing centralized deal making, so that all 30 teams broadcasts are basically on one package, similar to like what MLS does, I would assume, where you just buy an additional package of Apple TV Plus and you get that add-on, and then you just get access to all of Major League Soccer. And I think that would help Major League Baseball as well, because their big thing also is blackout restrictions where you can't watch your local team. Like if you have MLB TV, you can only watch the other 29 teams that aren't in your market. So I think getting everybody to come together, I think the biggest hurdle is going to be getting all 30 teams to agree to a deal, because you have the big market teams like the Dodgers and Yankees that have really good regional sports network deals that bring in a lot of revenue for their franchise. And I think in their mind, they're going to say, well, why do I need to help other teams make more revenue to help their on-field product, to help their rosters and help them be more competitive? And I see that and I get that, but I think if you want to make your sport actually have national interest and get people watching, it's to have a national media package where everybody's kind of on the same playing field in a way and can be competitive, and you have a little bit better parity around the league. Because right now it really is, outside of like a couple of years that were anomalies, it's Dodgers, Yankees, Astros, like that. Those are the teams that are consistently at the top. And I think people just get bored of that. You have these small market teams that have to draft really well and make the right trades. They're not really going to help their roster for the most part in free agency, because they can't compete with the big names. That's why you see teams like the Royals that they weren't in on Blake Snell, but they got Seth Lugo, they got Michael Wacha. Now, obviously, right now at the end of May, through 2 months of the season, those moves have seemed to work out, but I'm sure the Royals would have loved to have been part of the Blake Snell discussions. So I think national media package where everybody's all under the same umbrella, like I think that could be a first really, great step towards a little bit more of a level playing field. Now, I think the easiest thing to do to make it a level playing field obviously would be a salary cap, but number one, that would have to be collectively bargained, and that's not going to happen for another 2 years, I believe. And I don't think that the players would ever go for that because, I mean, number one, baseball contracts are fully guaranteed and are hilariously huge sometimes. Like Shohei Ohtani, $700 million. Multiple players, $300 to $400 million. Bryce Harper, Mike Trout. Bobby Witt Jr. just signed a $288 million contract. That's great for him. That's great for the Royals. That's great for baseball. But can the Royals sign another one of those deals? You know what I mean? So I think if it's a salary cap, you'll get players to kind of move around the league a little bit more because they'll feel comfortable going to Pittsburgh and, maybe it's not throwing shade at Pittsburgh, but just think of another kind of small market. Like you might get bigger names to go there because the talent is going to be spread out a little bit more rather than super teams, right? Now, I think that I'm just dreaming when I'm saying all of this because I don't think that there's really ever going to be a time in Major League Baseball anytime soon where we have a salary cap, and I can't even really imagine the nightmare that would be for the league anyway, because I think a lot of the deals that you see now that are already in place would have to be grandfathered in and probably wouldn't go against that salary cap. So it'd be a little bit weird. It'd probably take like 10 or 15 years for that to truly fall into place. So I don't know. That might be a story for another time in the off season if that's a conversation or a topic that picks up steam. But anyway, back to the media rights. I think what's inevitably going to happen is whether it's next year or a couple years down the road, MLB will be under a shared media package, and it's going to be something where Apple TV, Hulu, or Netflix, or even Amazon pick up a deal or strike a deal with MLB, and you'll be able to watch all 30 teams on there. There won't be any blackout restrictions. You can watch who you want when you want, and all of that revenue will be split evenly. And I think that's going to be the biggest hurdle, is getting all 30 teams to agree that the revenue gets to be split evenly. Because like I said, Yankees, they get something like $140 million this year for their TV rights. And then you have a team like the Rockies that get 40 million or 50 million. So obviously those numbers are significantly different. So coming to an agreement there, I think, will be the biggest issue to get through. But I look at what the NFL has done, and the NFL is the most popular sport in North America, and it's largely due to their shared media deal. NFL and all of its teams, they negotiate together, and they share revenue, and there's mostly level playing field in NFL. I think if a team's bad, it's usually just due to like the incompetence of the front office or the owners running the team, but pretty much everybody has a chance. And also the numbers, like the amount of viewers that watch NFL are a lot higher because all it takes is having a TV and an antenna, and you can watch Fox, you can watch CBS, you can watch Sunday Night Football on NBC. Now, obviously, like, you can't watch Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football because Thursday night's on Amazon Prime and Monday's on ESPN, but you can watch 3 games every Sunday for free, essentially. And that's something that Major League Baseball is missing and I think desperately needs. So I hope they get something done. I hope they figure it out and we can move forward from what has been a disaster for baseball fans for a long time and just having trouble having access to watch their favorite team or even just the sport that they love. So, okay. So I'd actually finished recording this episode, but some news came in that I wanted to add to the show. So this might be a little bit kind of a weird flow here, but Angel Hernandez, the infamous umpire Angel Hernandez, has announced he is retiring from Major League Baseball after 30 years. And this is good for baseball. This is good for Angel Hernandez because he was not somebody that was liked by players, coaches, or even fans. He was really only ever talked about in a negative light. And any umpire, referee, official, whatever, in any sport, you typically don't really want to know their names. If you don't know their names, that's usually a good thing, because that means that they're doing well at their job. But Angel Hernandez was unfortunately one of those umpires that was always in the spotlight, but for the wrong reasons, whether it was just a really bad or inconsistent strike zone, or having a short leash on ejecting players, or just not making the right calls in general, and just being a constant negative for the sport. So he hasn't umpired a game since May 9th. And now he has announced that he is officially retiring from umpiring. So goodbye, Angel Hernandez. We will not miss you. I hope you have a great post-umpiring life. That's all I have this week. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you next time.